Welcome in, everyone, to the right side of campus. It is Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus, getting you ready for a Tuesday in sports, breaking it all down for you here with my co-host, Donnie, right side. Donnie, we got a lot to talk about today, a lot going on in the world of sports. We'll get into it all and more here on the show. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Start off the week with a nice W last night. Started last week off with a W, actually two W's. Didn't work out so well for me. We'll see if it goes as far as possible this week. But always nice, Jeff, to dip into the Metro Atlantic, something a little bit closer to home. Cashed in on those Canisius Golden Griffins. Didn't even need Billy Barron in that one last night, Jeff. Nice winner to start off the week. So feeling a little bit chipper this morning and ready to go. How about you, big man?
Oh, just great. Feeling good. Welcome in everyone out there listening. As always, we appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the show today. A lot to do, as I said. Hit the like button if you're in the chat box right now. I know people love to hang out in there. Hit the like button for us. Obviously, give out your comments for what you have on what we're chatting about. Also, if you're on YouTube or actually, I'm sorry, on Twitter, hit the retweet button, hit the like button there. It's a great way for us to get the show out to people that might not see it on a regular basis. And as always, support the various things at SPRpicks.com. A lot of good articles over there, a lot of great content. As always, make sure you're supporting SPRpicks.com. Donnie, let's get into the morning headlines as we embark on a Tuesday morning here. Interesting news out of the world of baseball. Esteban Loaiza hasn't pitched for many years in the league. He was in the league, and I remember him well. Yesterday, arrested in San Diego after traveling through the border point. I've been at that border point before. It's called San Ysidro. I've been through there before. I actually went to Tijuana one time, and I know Esteban Loaiza is from Tijuana. I guess he was picked up, near the border. I guess they had a reason to think that he was doing something he shouldn't be. They searched his car, and like out of any other show about drugs that you see, it's in a secret compartment. They find 44 pounds of coke in a secret compartment. And look, I mean, this is a lot of drugs, as we know. The federal sentencing guidelines are high for this kind of thing. Esteban Loaiza is going away for a long time, and you got to ask yourself, this guy, I mean, he's probably made a good amount of money in the MLB, did a lot of good things there. Um, what on earth are you thinking here? But we're not going to see Esteban Loaiza for a long time, Donnie.
Yeah, no, I got a feeling, Jeff, it's not one of those things where you say, man, I only needed to do it one time and, I was just going to get a, $2 million payoff just for driving this stuff a couple miles up and dropping it off. He's probably tied in pretty well, Jeff. But it all gets back to the point. Did you invest your money wisely, Major League Baseball? Or, Jeff, do you just get down like this? Because we've seen it all. Aaron Hernandez in New England, still trying to be a gangster out there despite $50 million in contract, and probably in a couple years would have secured an even bigger contract in the National Football League. Some people just like that energy edge, Jeff. You get out there on the mound, it's one-on-one, it's you versus the pitcher. Maybe when you retire, you're seeking something to fill that void. Is there any more of look, trust me, I'm not really a drug smuggler. I'm not going to drive state to state with 40 pounds of heroin or whatever, but I can imagine the high, not drug high, Jeff, but the adrenaline rush that you get with that amount in your car or your ride that you need to make the delivery. It's almost like you're playing in a virtual video game, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that, Donnie. But as we know, it's listen. I mean, you can make a lot of money doing this, okay? And that's the truth of the matter. A lot of the times you're doing something like this, you're making a ton of money just by driving a mile or two, And look, Esteban Loaiza will get caught up. I mean, this is a guy that, was really, if I'm reading the article correctly, this was some kind of ongoing thing. I guess they had been sitting on the guy for a while, and this is kind of the end of it. Supposedly they stopped him for a minor traffic infraction. So if you're going to transport 44 pounds of cocaine, it'd be best to make sure you're following the rules. But at the end of the day, he was going to get pulled over regardless because they were already on him. Also, Donnie, he had a wife, I believe, that died in a plane crash. I read that, which you'd probably think that would open your eyes a bit as far as like, living, you know, living and just trying to enjoy life. But the guy played 14 seasons in the major leagues. He was a pretty good pitcher, honestly, and I think he was one of the winningest pitchers in Mexican history. Definitely, definitely a shame. I mean, again, I don't
Yeah,
know how
second in
this
the
all
Cy
happened.
Young, I think, 2003. I mean, this is, still somewhat in that juiced up post juice era. What do you go, like 21 and, something under 10 with like a 2 something ERA, second in the Cy Young Award winner. So it wasn't like you see this guy like, oh, he had a cup of coffee in the major leagues and now turned to drugs and you could just use him as a name because he pitched like a year or two. You're right. Longtime veteran there. Something interesting about his wife, I believe, was a famous either singer or actress. And they
Yeah.
did get divorced, and then she died in the plane crash. So some were trying to tie it to, well, maybe he thought he would have an insurance policy coming, or he would have been covered from his wife, or financially. You never know. When you get divorced, you might be broke at that point, spend it already, and he's not going to get any insurance money from that plane crash at all. So hey, I guess he was trying to do what he had to do.
44 pounds converted to kilos is 20 kilos. That's a lot of keys. Um, and I do know, Donnie, that the guidelines, as far as I believe this is a state case. I believe the state of California has this. That's 10 years in prison right there, I believe. So I would say he's going to have at least 10 years. Esteban Loaiza, I'd imagine, in his how old is Esteban Loaiza? Probably in his 40s, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think he's going to get life or anything here, but this is a large time that he's going to spend in state prison. And look, you go from big time baseball. He was with the Yankees for many years. I remember him with the White Sox. He was with some different teams. He's 46 years old. So, again, a bad decision here, but hey, I guess you gotta live
And to get
vicariously, I
started,
guess.
Jeff, not even like, it doesn't even sound like he got snitched on, or it was just he was
No,
making the
no.
deal and got set up. Like literally, like maybe driving through a yellow, through a red, making a left. Jeff, maybe he was like one house or one block away from just making that simple drop, exchanging cars, getting out of town, never to be heard from again. And you get that bad luck, but it just seems sometimes karma comes after you, Jeff. It just does.
From what I read, Donnie, it looks like it was an ongoing probe. They were probably sitting on him for a
Yeah,
while,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he, he probably, they knew this was the one, and they grabbed him quick. Um,
Mhm.
Donnie, we move on. We'll see. We'll follow this story and see what happens. We have Lance Johnson. It's Lane Johnson, but again, that's just a small spelling
I think I
mistake.
typed it. I typed that. I actually typed that.
I
Yeah.
think
Good
you
job,
typed it, Donnie.
autocorrect. Yeah,
Yeah,
good job, autocorrect. They don't like
don't
Lane.
blame our
No, come
producers
on.
today. It's Lane Johnson. And Donnie, I got to ask. You wrote torching the Pats. I got to be honest
Yes.
with you. I thought this was one of the stupidest comments I've ever heard in my life. I thought Lane Johnson should shut the hell up and go on vacation or go do what he does. These continued spats by him are lame. They don't make any sense. And look, you're poking the bear a little bit. I get that you beat New England. I get you want to do your talking or whatever, but he's the only one doing it. Second of all, at some point you got to move on and worry about next season, and you're gonna have to worry about the New England Patriots. And this is good cannon fodder for that group. Also, Lane Johnson, what he said is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I'd much rather win 5 championships and not enjoy what I do. It's football. It's a business. This is about winning. It's not about having fun and stroking your kitty a little bit. It's about having fun or making money, doing your business. This is not sixth grade flag football. This is the NFL. You win. If you don't do well, you get sent the fuck down and you go away. These are stupid comments by Lane Johnson and make little sense at all. I don't get this comment.
Well, here's what you have to look at though, Jeff. And this is when you hear it, you say, why is Lane Johnson doing this? Why is Jason Kelsey going nuts? In the NFL, sometimes when you're sitting on top or you're trying to get to the top, you're trying to poke the bear a little bit, but you're also trying to get some internal motivation. We talked about it a lot, Jeff, down the stretch. How did the Eagles get prepared for football games? Sitting at, 12-1, 12-2, making the rundown, first overall seed, and getting absolutely zero respect. Like everybody expected them to lose to Atlanta, everybody expected them to lose to Minnesota, and everybody expected them to go to Minneapolis and lose the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots. So what I think a nice little MO for the offseason is when you saw at the parade, Jason Kelsey going up there and going nuts that nobody likes us and we don't care. So now Lane Johnson's going up there and saying, you know what? I'm going to take a couple shots at the Patriots. Like, they don't even enjoy it. I'm sure he got some, tidbits or some inside info from LeGarrette Blount, Chris Long. But I think this MO going forward is trying to poke the bear to keep the Eagles motivated themselves. Why not try to pick on the Patriots and cause some sort of fraction? I mean, not that you're not even going to play the Patriots next year, but just try to get that edge in there where now the public's going to say, is like, Teddy Bruschi fires back like, you only won one, you got lucky, you wore some dog masks, you ran some trick plays. Let's see if you can win it again. So now that Eagles MO, Jeff, is going to be like, they don't think we can win this again. So I like it from an advantage standpoint. The one thing I actually don't mind, Jeff, do you remember back in the day, you were younger growing up, but you remember the 04 Super Bowl we lost to the Patriots. That whole week, Freddie Mitchell was chirping at the secondary for the New England Patriots, the Rodney Harrisons, the Asante Samuels of the world, and immediately got cut after the game. You're poking one of the world's best or all-time Hall of Fame type players. At least in this instance here, you're not some role-playing bum. You're a really good offensive lineman. So at least it came from Lane Johnson's mouth as opposed to somebody like the practice squad.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make sense. It's a stupid comment. But again, I hear you. And it's it's kind of like, you're kind of like that guy, Donnie, that when you go to the club, right? You're there, you're hanging out, and you get into you pick a fight with someone, okay? They hit you. You hit them back. And you probably fucked up by starting the fight, but you do it anyway. And then the security steps in and you kind of like wag your finger at the guy like you're tough. And it's like, well, dude, I mean, the security got involved. You're not going to do anything now. You're kind of like that guy that starts a fight when everyone's around, but when it's you against that guy, you want to shut up and do your thing. I mean, you already won now. I mean, Lane Johnson's kind of. I mean, why didn't he say this? A couple weeks ago. Hey, like they don't even enjoy their Super Bowls. We're gonna win. Like, why not say it then? It's kind of lame.
Well, he did. He was talking trash early with the Tom Brady comment, saying we're going to go out there and dethrone that pretty boy, or we're not getting invited just to your party. So Lane Johnson was cropped up a little bit, and he was already riled up. I mean, he's the one behind the dog mask, getting angry, saying nobody can trust us. After the comment by Nick 427, and I'm pretty sure this is right, though. I mean, say what you want, but, not the Marines aren't for everybody. The Army's not for everybody. Going to, the Air Force Academy, the Navy or Army, not for everybody out there, which is the same thing with the Patriots. They look for a certain model to come in. And if you can come in, maybe you were disgruntled. Remember they brought Corey Dillon in, who was a disgruntled player in the NFL, talented, molded him in. Same thing with the Rodney Harris or Randy Moss. They'll bring guys in that they can mold, but if you don't fit that mold for the long term, they'll get rid of you. And you can't hate it, Jeff, because why? It works. I mean, Belichick never won a Super Bowl. He probably would have lasted, 3 or 4 years in New England, but it is the Patriots way, and they do win. So if they can mold that in and do it, more power to them. But I see the way the opposite works in the NFL and some other cities where, a la like the Cincinnati Bengals, as we were talking about, you just have that whole fractured locker room. That doesn't work either.
I will say this. I have made my comments on the Patriots, but I'll say it like this. If you want an organization the way, if I had it, the way I'd run it, that's how I'd run it. A tight ship. You do something stupid, see you later. You fumble the ball on the goal line, you're off. See ya. I don't have time for that. This is a winning organization. This is why we win. It's the same way. If you mentioned the military, you go to the military, there's a strict code. There's strict guidelines to how you do things. And if you don't do it, you're out of here. I mean, that's just the reason why they win so much is because they win so much is because they win so much. They have the strict code of what they do and they don't deviate from it. If that's not fun, it's not fun. It's football. It's the NFL. This isn't, like I said, sixth grade flag football. This isn't, we're not here to have fun. When I used to play rec basketball, my mother said, go have fun. That's rec basketball. This is a billion-dollar business that I'm paid a lot of money to do, and I'm coming out and talking about we'd rather have fun than win. I'd much rather win. I don't give a Donnie, let me ask you. If the Eagles won a Super Bowl right now, and they had a coach that wasn't as upbeat and fun and this team wasn't as likable, would the Super Bowl mean any different to you?
I mean, as a fan, I mean, I really wouldn't care what they do. But I guess if you're a
Right.
player, I mean,
That's the
same
thing.
thing when you're at a crazy company. Yeah, fans don't care. Fans just want wins. That's why no matter what happens up there, Jeff, with Bill Belichick, cheating spy scandal, who cares? He won. Tom Brady deflates footballs and that team cheats, but he's still the best ever. They don't care. Why? Because they have rings on their finger. That's all the fans care about. If the entire Eagles team, Jeff, came out tomorrow and said, dude, we took this illegal growth hormone the entire season, which is why we won, you know what I would say? I don't give a damn. We got a Lombardi. I could care less.
I hear you. One final question now before we move on, and I want you to answer this honestly. If tomorrow I said to you, you have the choice, okay, of Doug Peterson or Bill Belichick right now to be your head coach, who are you taking?
Oh, man, we're not going to do any snap judgments on that. It's Bill Belichick all day long, all day. I mean, I
Okay,
love what Doug
okay,
does. It's a
yeah.
great aura, but it's bottom line. If you go into a football game in the NFL and you say you have one coach right now to win this football game, it's always going to be Bill Belichick.
So
Yes.
you would agree that if you ran a football team, how would you run it? Would you run it more liberal like Doug does, where it's a fun kind of thing, and it's this and that, or would you run it? It's tight-lipped. It's we run this business-wise like we do it here. How would you run your football team?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an owner, results count. And again, like it's the same thing, Jeff, if you're in the business world. If your top, like, let's just say your West Coast affiliate is cheating the SEC in the system and trading stocks illegally, you get banged for $1 billion fine, but they made you $3 billion in profit. What are you going to do as an owner? Hey, guys, as long as you guys are out here, breaking bank out here, making me money, I'll cover for you as long as possible. But if Bill Belichick didn't work out, he would be gone in a few years. It's the same way in life, Jeff. Show me the profits or show me the winning, and I'll keep you around.
Exactly. One other thing, Mike Pereira came out, Donnie, yesterday and said that the trick play that the Philadelphia Eagles ran was, obviously illegal. There was a illegal formation, and Donnie, I want to make this clear. As that play happened, I thought the same thing. It looked a little illegal. And again, it doesn't matter now. The game's over and they've won. But as the thing, it's funny. After a week at the Super Bowl, you start to, look at the game differently because, hey, the game's over. It doesn't matter what we think now. It's really just speculation. But you're a football guy. You get
Yeah.
football. Mike Pereira, you can say what you want about NFL officials. I think Mike Pereira does a pretty decent job for the most part. I think he's pretty objective. He definitely gives his opinion. Usually, he's pretty correct on the scheme of things. It looks a legal formation to me, but again, they didn't call it, and it doesn't matter. Do you think it was a legal formation?
Well, here's the thing, like playing football my whole life and being a wide receiver, this fits exactly into my MO, Jeff, because we are reliant on the side judges, the two officials that not, the umpires or whoever stands in the backfield, the head official, the two side judges line up the line of scrimmage, and it's their job to let you know who's on and who's off. So as a wide receiver, your first thing to do is you go out to the side judge and you either point at him or you get his attention because he's looking for you, and you're going to tell him whether you're on the line of scrimmage or off. And what they do, Jeff, is if you see it, you probably don't get to see it that much on TV, but if you paid attention, they would point you up or they would move you back. It's a discretionary call in the Super Bowl. It's loud. It's fourth down. Alshon Jeffrey, whoever Nelson Aguilar lines up, sometimes he doesn't actually have to signal the ref. You can make eye contact with the referee, and he gives you a little shake like you're okay. Now, granted, Jeff, I've seen it on tape even in college and high school where I was lined up a full 2 yards in the backfield or even across the line of scrimmage, but it doesn't matter because it's wherever the side judge agrees to line you up as a legal play. If Mike Pereira is just looking at the video and says, well, he looks like he's a half yard in the backfield, that might be true, but it's up to the side judge there to let you know if you are on or off the line of scrimmage when you come up there. So maybe he gave him the shake, maybe he didn't, but for a judgment call, you can, well, the play was illegal. It wasn't like 19 guys were in motion and, there was a false start from the center in that instance. When you're a wide receiver, it's basically where he lines you up at, whether you're off or not. As long as he okays it, Jeff, the play's going to go through.
Yeah, it's definitely you're right about that. I have a weird feeling that if that's a game in October, they probably call that, but I don't know. What do I know? I don't know who started this. I don't know if the Patriots were complaining again. They don't have any reason to complain. I'm reading that, Donnie, in the playoffs, they had 6 penalties. Their
Yeah, come on,
opponents,
man.
22. So, and those were for 195 yards. Patriots 6 for 52. So, I don't think they have much to complain about. Donnie, we finish it up tonight with some NBA, or today with some NBA on the headlines. The Warriors this is a savage move, I think. The Warriors were up by so many points last night and could care less about the Phoenix Suns. They knew the game was such a blowout that Steve Kerr actually said, I'm not going to coach anymore. I'm going to let you guys draw plays up. savage move by Steve Kerr last night. Um, hey, it's nice to be in the Warriors world, Donnie.
And this is another case, Jeff, which I always get a chuckle out with the NBA. The NBA playoffs are fantastic, but the regular season leaves a lot to be desired. There are multi-million-dollar athletes who've been there, done that. We're all talking about the Warriors here. You know, Jeff, expected to be back in the finals. So I get you try to spice it up. But do you spice it up against? I don't even think Booker played last night for Phoenix, and you're trashing this basketball team, lighting them up, and you're setting over onto the side, like literally drawing up a play, like handing it to Iguodala or Draymond Green, coach this up, and then you try to play it off, Jeff, after the game, like, hey, I wanted to change it up. The guys, teach them a little bit about coaching and see how they handle adversity. There's not much adversity when you're playing the Phoenix Suns. Now, would he do this, Jeff? Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals to see how they deal with adversity in a 1-point game in the fourth quarter? No, it's the ultimate troll move out there. And I'm just kind of upset, Jeff, that they didn't just say it like, look, we're blowing this bad team out. We just wanted to have fun. And then I would have been like, you know what? That is savage as hell. Good for Golden State. But the fact they try to play this off as a teaching move moving forward was kind of funny to me.
I mean, it was basically 93 to 70 at the end of the third quarter. The game's pretty much decided. Keep in mind, Donnie, at the end of the first quarter, it was 25-24.
Yes, it was.
Warriors.
Yes, correct.
They were hanging. But you're right. Devin Booker didn't play. Donnie, and thank God they went and got Alfred Payton. Alfred Payton had 29 points last night
Yeah.
out of the 83. Definitely a move. I mean, you look at the box score. This is all you need to know, okay? The score was a 46-point game. In the fourth quarter, Phoenix scored 12 points. So what that's telling you is Golden State didn't keep their foot off the gas. They fucking went hard and said, we're going to just fucking work this team. I envy it. I think it's impressive. You got to do what you got to do in the league.
I
You don't
think
want to be in the
it
league.
like I don't care about disrespect for Phoenix. I mean, it's up to Phoenix to blame. They didn't. That wasn't like Jeff. They played 7 guys on the court and got away with it. They still went 5-on-5 and let their players have fun. And it's funny when you see a motivated team when you dangle that carrot out there, like guys have fun, because it could have went the other way, Jeff. They could have went on there and just said this is a joke, and next thing you know, you're in a 5-point ball game in the fourth quarter. You're right. They hit the accelerator with the players coaching. Nothing to be said, but come on, Phoenix, you got to at least come up with something over there.
Right. One other thing, Donnie, we shout out to our friend TJ McConnell, who I just want to point out. I mean, this is a guy that at Arizona, very good player. He was on that team that went deep into the tournament. They had that Tarzuski and Gabe York and Nick whatever the two guard they had. It was one of Miller's really good teams. He's a guy that comes out of college. You don't expect much. I think he was the last player invited to the combine. He didn't get drafted. He was undrafted. Sixers took a shot with him. I remember at times I thought to myself, how the hell is this guy in the league? I mean, would he be on any other team other than the Sixers? Really? And you talk about a kid that worked hard to get to where he is. I mean, TJ McConnell doesn't have the most basketball talent in the world, but he works hard. He's from good stock. His father's a coach, a very good coach in the Western Pennsylvania area. Tim McConnell, amazing effort last night from him. He's one of the guys in the NBA that you do want to root for. He's earned everything he's gotten.
No, you're right about that, Jeff. When you look at TJ McConnell, and forget about it being the Sixers or any organization, so you need, at his talent level, you need a lot of luck and a lot of work ethic to get in there. What other team Jeff, than the 76ers at the time tanking that are going to say, you know what? You're working hard in practice. You deserve some playing time out there. And you know what? These 2 years that you're going to be here, it doesn't actually matter if we win. You can work on your craft, apply your craft, show your worth to a basketball team. And if you work hard, good things happen and you get breaks in your favor. Now he's sticking around. He's going to be a long-term NBA player, when a lot of us laugh saying, what the hell are the Sixers doing with TJ McConnell other than just trying to lose basketball games? Well, credit the kid, Jeff. He took full advantage of getting that shot, and congratulations to him, man. It's a great story to watch. We lose the BMOC out there? I guess we lost the BMOC. Yeah, such a touching story out there, folks, that we were going over with TJ McConnell that Jeff Probably had to go get the Kleenex box. Maybe we'll be back in just a few minutes. So I assume we're still going live here. So we'll continue on the show. But again, everybody, welcome into the chat box out here. Morning headlines. Always a lot of fun to go over each and every morning to review. You know, sometimes you got some wins last night, some losses, which if we slide this down, we can go over to a couple NCAA recap games yesterday if we slide that down. And we'll go over how that night progressed and how it went over, because there were a lot of interesting college basketball games yesterday. If we do want to take a look at those, let me just slide down and we'll get a scoreboard up here from yesterday. If we take a look at the bottom lines there, you know, the Texas Baylor double overtime game. Look, I know a lot of you guys follow the big men on campus, and rightfully so in his college basketball wagers. And he'll be the first to tell you in there, it's a slow grind in the basketball season, same way it would be in football, same way it would be in baseball. The interesting part about last night for the big man, nailed his play. He nailed his play. But sometimes they don't work out. Anybody that follows me on Saturday, I had a couple major meltdown losses. The sun still came up Sunday morning. We still got back after it. The ones that really get on my nerves, folks, and I mean really get on my nerves when we're out here betting basketball games, are the ones you swing and miss on. The ones where you thought the Baylor under was going to be a good play and they end up going at 92-90, not double overtime, 182, and completely blow away everything in the actual totals. But last night, BMOC was right on it, right, folks? I mean, a lot of you guys fought him. I see you in here say, hey, tough beat last night and all that ones. That's a hard one. A double overtime loss, a stone cold under called by the BMOC on that. Just didn't get it done. But that's going to happen to you out there. I mean, we've been gambling a long time out here, folks, same as you as well. You just have to shake it off. And I got back to my Saturday game with Eastern Michigan, up 19 with a minute to go in the first half, up 17 at the break. And you'll only have to cover 1 point, thinking you're going to get an easy win. That one gets taken away. And you see games like that all like last night. West Virginia bounces back. How many people out there that say like, hey, man, you know, TCU's a good basketball team. And, you know, I was in the same, you know, wavelength there. They can hit the three-pointer. West Virginia's really been struggling. But a lot of key ingredients went into a lot of these games, because if you're looking at that game last night with West Virginia, we saw the awful loss on Saturday, didn't we, versus Oklahoma State? Now you have one of those things where Bob Huggett's going to step into his team, maybe get him going. You're home on Monday Night Basketball. And then if you take a look on the opposite side, TCU coming from Texas on one travel day to play an up-tempo pressing team. As the game wore on, you saw West Virginia get better. A nice win by West Virginia and a cover in that instance. I don't think the game actually went over in that. And I know it was a close one also. If we take a look also, the UNC closes late, as you see down there with the tagline. That game, if you had Notre Dame, that's a tough one, man. You're in that basketball game the entire way, but another one of those travel instances. Both of your teams play on Saturday. Then you play on Monday with the travel day. UNC had the fresher legs in that instance. Even though they were playing 3 out of 5 days, they were still at home and then playing another home game. So their legs are a little bit less weary than what Notre Dame would be. And I believe closed on a closing run. Maybe Notre Dame scored 3 points, I believe, over almost the last 6 minutes of that basketball game, which, again, a lot of people had the over. You should have hit that over. If you had the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, you probably should have covered that basketball game. But when it all boils down to it and you really dig into it, sometimes being on the road, it's hard enough to win on the road in the ACC. It's hard enough to win at the Dean Dome. It's hard enough to win when you go to Morgantown. But just those extra weary travel legs, sometimes when you take it into effect, you see that there. But I can't argue with you, Charles Tapp. I like West Virginia, but that was too many points for me to lay. It did look like a lot of points in that one. It's the same thing when you look at the Carolina game. Everybody's hitting Notre Dame as the day's going through, and that line goes from 9.5 to 10, even peaking at 10.5 at one point. You're saying, man, isn't there value on Notre Dame? Just from a perspective saying, look, they don't defend UNC, doesn't defend the three ball well. We know Notre Dame and Mike Brey are going to get that open look jump shot. They should be able to hang around, and you're at that pressure point. What I mean by pressure point in college basketball is, you know, the psychology of a 10 or 10.5 at this point. If you're down 9, which, again, it's a bad number because Butler burned me on Saturday because some reason that we thought we could beat Villanova, down 9 with 30 seconds to go and still fouling out there. But sometimes the psychology of a double-digit game, you know, all right, we're down 10 with, you know, minute and a half to go. That's it. Let's call off the dogs. Let's not do anything else in this basketball game. Sometimes that psychology does work out. But you have to score if you're Notre Dame. You can't go 3 points in the last 6 minutes of that game, man. Just amazing when you take it down and take a look at that there. Norfolk, no problem. Maction, actually, should be NEAC in this one. The lower levels or lower rungs of NCAA basketball. Easy, but I think they won by like 35 points, only covering or laying -10 or -11. Last night, I did have a wager that I did put through and got the winner on yesterday, Canisius Golden Griffins. Same type of struggle here, folks. You try to look back and see what works and what doesn't work when you're going over, your season schedules and what's setting up there. What I liked about going against Fairfield yesterday, which again, Fairfield got some steam. I'm sitting there staring at my odds board around 5 o'clock before I fired on the game. It was sitting at 7.5, then it drops to 7. Then it drops to 6.5. Then it drops to 6.5 with half juiced. I actually got 6.5 -102 on the Canisius Golden Griffins last night versus Fairfield. And that line even dropped lower than that if you were able to use BetChris or Bookmaker out there. You actually got a 6, like -108 around game time there. So a lot of steam was hitting Fairfield. But when you look at indications, and sometimes, it's not so simple as black and white when you're saying who can defend the three, who can't defend the three, who shoots free throws, who doesn't turn the basketball over. Sometimes it's about travel arrangements. And when you took a look at the Metro Atlantic Conference, it's a busing conference. I mean, you got people that are just sitting up here, busing from Manhattan, from New Rochelle, from Fairfield, Connecticut, Quinnipiac, going all the way out to Niagara and back to Siena and all those areas. It's a tough conference to travel in, the Monmouths of the world, the Riders in New Jersey, St. Peter's. I mean, this isn't 5-star jets. This isn't Florida flying up to Georgia on a private charter and then flying back after the basketball game. It's taking a couple Greyhound buses across state and playing. So Fairfield had to get out and play Niagara on a Saturday. So if you got on that bus in Connecticut and drove all the way on Friday out there, maybe an 7.5 hour bus trip across state. You got to play Niagara and you got punched in that game on Saturday. Do you get to go home and fly home on the, jet with a nice steak dinner and you get back with a nice training staff? Nope. You're staying out in that Buffalo area, and you're going to travel up to Canisius and play on Monday night, not in your own gym. Maybe you got to shoot around at the local YMCA, or maybe Canisius open the gym doors for you, but it's not your place. You're sleeping in another bed, and you're not staying probably at a nice Marriott or a 5-star Ritz-Carlton. You're probably staying at the local Motel 8 or, whatever the pay-by-night is out there, because you're out there for a few days being on a lower budget Division I team. And you got smoked last night. And also keep in mind, folks, that game was 43-43 at the half. And I'm trying to cover 6.5. Say, hey, you know what? Maybe they're playing a little bit better Fairfield, but they tanked in the second half. A nice, easy 18-point win to cover that 6.5. It was nice and cruising 70-55 with about maybe 5 minutes to go, and they poured it on from there. Fairfield, if you do look back at their stats, I don't know, I'm rambling on a little bit, but I just like to give you a little bit of insight of what I like to look at in college basketball in some instances. They only did it one other time this year, Fairfield, where they went on a back-to-back on the weekend, whether it be a Thursday night and a Saturday or a Saturday and a Monday type spread. In those 2 games Fairfield played about a month and a half ago, they dropped both of those back-to-back road games on the road by 18 points apiece. 19 points apiece, and then dropped the one last night by 18. So a nice little indicator in those smaller conferences, folks. Take a look at those back-to-back or travel situations. They're not professional athletes. They're not high-end Division I athletes. It takes a lot of practice to get through on there. We'll wait for the big man to pop back up here just a few moments. He is DMing me from behind the scenes. Bear with me. My computer is messing around. Just keep talking about last night. So we'll keep talking about last night till the big man gets here, because I know he wants to go over some frauds, and then we'll hit the hardwood. We'll set up some futures, and we'll talk a little chat box. So we got about half hour, 25 minutes left in the show tonight. So we'll hit some of the chat box and have a little bit of fun. Welcome in everybody out there. 172 people watching live, 49 likes. We thank you so much for that for SBR. And again, folks, just take a little PSA before the big man loads up that computer again. Check out SBRodds.com. The best way to let us know that you appreciate what you do is not to send us money, not to buy my plays or, watch the big man on what else he's doing. At sportsbookreview.com, a lot of people work behind the scenes. I've been down there multiple times. There's a lot of great people working there. And again, you're not sending them money directly. You know how you do it? Check out the website. Go to sportsbookreview.com if you need a book, if you're trying to get down on wagers. You folks know, man, use betonline.ag after the Super Bowl. Had a nice football season. Got a nice check that was overnighted to me. I believe I cashed out Tuesday night, got my check ready to go and put in the bank by Friday morning. Everything legitimate and above board. I had a great time with that. But any sports book out there that you like, do you like bonuses? Do you like certain payouts? Do you want to get paid in cryptocurrency? It's all there at sportsbookreview.com. Just check out the website. And even if you don't do that, see the subscribe button down low. If you're watching right now on YouTube, which a lot of you guys are chiming in on the chat box, hit the subscribe button. The more subscribers that we get, the more we know that you like us there also. And also, if you're not following us on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks, give it a follow. Tweeting out stuff all day long, going back and forth. And the good part is it's not a phantom account. We see a lot of these. ESPN tweets out or CBS tweets out or Fox Sports tweets out, they don't tweet back. A lot of the times we'll get back to you on something. If you have a question, you have a question with a sports book, or you just want to ask about a certain line in the game, tweet it at us. We'll have some fun with that and also do the same. Welcome in Cody AV, Al Cervic. They gassed out second half on Q, Donnie. Absolutely. That's what we were banking on. And I remember checking the score because I'm one of those guys in college basketball. Jeff will tell you the same as well. We don't want to hear about it. And what I mean by that is we don't want to go minute to minute to minute and watch these basketball games because there's way too many flows in college basketball. You can sit back for me. I can watch an entire NFL game start to finish, an entire college football game, folks, start to finish when I'm betting on the game because there's ebbs and flows, there's commercials. It's a little bit slower pace. The same way with Major League Baseball. I can watch an entire Major League Baseball game start to finish with money on it. Folks, I don't know how you do it on college basketball. I've been betting for decades on college basketball, and I can't watch minute to minute and watch 2-3 balls go down. I want to choke myself and turn it out. And there he is, the big man, right back on cue as we're going to go over frauds. Jeff, if we go over frauds, talk about your computer.
I want to make people aware of how we do these shows, okay? Because a lot of people wonder, why is it so difficult to get them on the air? Because this fucking piece of shit, Skype, is brutal. It's an awful company. If you're out there, Skype, I want you to fucking understand this website blows. It's terrible. There's always something wrong with it. It never works. It's shit. It is just shit. But SBR is helpful. They try to get you on. It's nothing we can do, unfortunately. It's just fucking Skype.
Yeah, maybe somebody's blocking you. Too hot for college basketball right now. Maybe it's trying to keep you off the air, keep the word out there. Maybe it's a local book or maybe an offshore book trying to say, look, we got to get the big man's computer and do one of those DDoSs or whatever they call it out there. And then we lose the big man. Come on, Jeff, click on the mic. Click on it. I see you. Click on it. There you go.
It's like this computer there's something fucking wrong with it. Like it works fine all day. When I need it to work, it just shuts off. Like I don't get it. I don't understand. But when we created this show synopsis, Donnie, and I included the word fraud, I'm sure people came on the show this morning thinking that, oh, big man's going to go on a rant about frauds. But no, it's about basketball frauds, Donnie. And I ask you, and I don't mind that I missed the recap because I got to tell you, Donnie, the last 2 weeks I've lost 8 times out of 26 plays. I've lost 8 times, and both Mondays, Donnie, I lost both times.
Oh.
Monday's a shit show.
Should be going back to the MEAC, Jeff. Get in the MEAC, man. Get in the MEAC on Mondays from now on.
Didn't like to play enough, and I'm glad I didn't because I would have lost that. I should have just went with Jackson State. Like I fucking knew I should have. But typical. And guys, by the way, it's nice to say I was on the right side. I lost. Okay, it doesn't matter what side I was on. We lost. Or I lost. Yeah, frauds in the country right now, Donnie. Obviously, we know who some of the good teams are, some of the teams we can trust. But I got a couple teams that I'm concerned about, and I don't know how good they really are, and I'm going to put them in the fraud category. Before I do that, do you have anyone that you're looking at that you don't think is up?
You know what's interesting when you're talking about fraud? It's hard to say in the top because, Jeff, I think we can all agree. When you say frauds, you're trying to look for a team that thinks they can get it done but can't. I mean, when you look at the teams that like Virginia, Villanova, like I know even some people want to say, well, Cincinnati hasn't done anything yet. You can't really put those guys in that type of fraud range. I can't put Gonzaga in the fraud range. Maybe one of those teams that you're looking outstanding around that top 10, 9, 8, in that area. The one that comes the closest, Jeff, even though they played last night, they have a couple games in a row. To me, it's still that North Carolina wave out there where sometimes you just look at the name on the front of the jersey and the talent they have. And Roy Williams has won before and they can make a run. I still believe there's a lot of fraud, Jeff, in North Carolina.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one. They're not on my list, but they would be right there. I still wonder about them. For me, I got a couple here. I think Kansas, and it hurts me to say this because I have a future on them, but I do think they're a bit of a fraud, honestly. I think some of the things they do are going to be a concern come tournament time. I know they have good guard play, but the truth of the matter is you look at all the really good teams in the country, They all have a big. They all have a dynamic big, and they just don't. They're behind the 8 ball a bit. They're not a particularly deep team due to transfer issues. Look, I don't care about Mitch Lightfoot. That he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna play a big part for them. He's not gonna help them. They just don't have a lot of depth, and I'm concerned about that team. And they're from a conference that, let's be honest, people, is a bit of a fraud. The Big 12, like football, is a shitty conference this year. It doesn't. It has a lot of decent teams, but it's one of the more inconsistent conferences in the country. I mean, is there any consistency with this group at all? I mean, the Big 12 is just irritating. Kansas is a team that I think will crash and burn fairly early in the tournament. Um, I know this team's been on fire, and we got to give them respect because right now they're playing really well, and you got to feel good about them. But do you really trust Auburn? I mean, Donnie, don't they seem like the team that'll be get 3 seed in the tournament and get knocked off? They're
Yes.
fairly one-dimensional. They've never won before. They have no quality wins. If you can find a quality win on their schedule, really, other than in their SEC games, let me know. I don't know that I have one. Um, I just wonder about their validity just because they are so unproven. They are so young, and Bruce Pearl's running the show. I respect Bruce Pearl, but you got to wonder if this team's a little in over their head. Auburn might be a team that down the road is a little fraudulent. The other one, and this will surprise people, but I just see the writing on the wall. Arizona. I think Arizona's a bit of a fraud. I know you'll say how they're a fraud there at Arizona, but they have a lot of issues on the defensive
Yeah.
end early in the season. That was a big issue. Um, they don't rebound particularly well. They're another team that's not particularly deep. You look at their starting 5 or 6. That's really all they go. I mean, the rest of their depth hasn't done particularly well this year. There's issues off the court who I still think Sean Miller's involved in. I don't know. I don't see like they have that killer instinct this year. I love Aiton. Trier's a good player, but they haven't been that consistent even in a Pac-12 that as another conference that isn't
Down.
great either. Right. There are a couple teams here. Another team is the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The truth of the matter is, people love this team because they're good against the number, and in this business, that's what we care about. We want teams that are good against the number. But they have beaten no one. Okay, no one. Every step-up game they've had, they've lost, and that's the reason they're on the bubble. The fucking tournament committee doesn't care about ATS numbers. They care about resume, and the Nebraska Cornhuskers don't really have one. Um, Donnie, any other people you want to mention as I open that up a little bit? Anyone else? You're going to UNC. I don't disagree with that.
No, he can't. And I was looking almost at conferences, Jeff, because we know how battle tested. We need to talk about Big 12, Big 10. At least you're going to get teams that can go toe to toe and can go deep. The Pac-12 overall as a conference. The one thing I want to ask you about this is we know, like, if you're looking at top 20 teams or dominant teams, there isn't one to be found. But Jeff, we're always talking about value moving forward. There are going to be some lower seeded teams out in the Pac-12 that are going to make the tournaments. The 4 seed, the 5 seed, the 6 seed. Do you sort of pick on that as when they get to the conference where nobody expects much out of them? Now they're going to be a little bit inflated. Instead of getting 4, maybe they're getting 6.5 or 7 points. Does that bring any value in the Pac-12, or are you just looking to get stomped when they get matched up against a decent team, or even like one of those mid-major teams with 4 or 5 seniors in the starting lineup?
Well, I mean, it really depends because at the end of the day, the Pac-12 is a way better conference than a way better teams than most of the mid majors they're going to face. But like you look at like for instance, Arizona. Like if the tournament started today, Lenardi has them playing South Dakota State. Okay, we know about South Dakota State. You and I know about South Dakota State. We know about Mike Dom. We know about the ability they have. I don't know. It's really situation is situational, but yeah, I mean, in the tournament, I'm much more inclined to take points with the big seeds rather than laying them. I mean, last year I remember perfectly. I remember I believe taking Florida Gulf Coast in the first round against UNC. I just didn't. I mean, I thought the number was way too high. I mean, you have some teams that are really decent. Like people will knock them, but like UNC Asheville is a good team. I mean, they're a really decent team down in the Big South. If they're getting 22, 23 points, which they will be, in the first game. There's sometimes where you got to take shots with some of these little guys. But it's really a matchup thing, Donnie. And that's why it's important to know what you know about all these teams and know how they play. Like, it'll be interesting, Donnie, in the tournament because with Virginia, they'll be the number one overall seed. So they'll play the play-in game winner. And the play-in game will be between most likely the MEAC conference champion and
Yeah.
the Southland conference champion. Now, right now, if everything shakes out, the MEAC conference champion would be Savannah State. The Southland conference champion will be Nichols State. If anyone knows anything about those two groups, Savannah State, Donnie, is the
Mhm.
fastest team in the country. They
Oh,
they just go up and down. They shoot threes. They're pace wise right up there. Nichols is like sixth. They're right up there as far as like they go hyper speed, and they're literally going to be playing the best team in the country defensively. That's an interesting dynamic, and that's something that you only see in the tournament. That's the kind of spot where I'm saying, fucking hell, I'm laying whatever I can on Virginia because there's no way. I mean, could you imagine, Donnie, Savannah State against Virginia? I mean, my God, it wouldn't even be fair. It's
I
not
mean,
even
it's,
fair
yeah,
to those
exactly.
kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Lights
but
down. Yeah.
yeah, but we move on, Donnie. We got about I don't know, 10 minutes to go here. We'll hit the hardwood quick. Futures, I don't have a ton. There's just a couple changing ever dynamic things we'll get to. What do we got on tonight's card, Donnie?
Yeah, let's set up a couple games here, Jeff. We'll go with our normal three-pack that we like to do each and every day. Let me bring these up here for us. For some reason, I don't have them logged in here. But we'll start up. If we take a look here, Jeff, on the bottom, Nebraska and Maryland, two Big Ten teams going toe-to-toe in this one tonight. The one thing I want to look at here is, let me just see here. For some reason, Jeff, you have the line up there?
Yeah, I
Erasing
do.
it for me. Go ahead.
It's 1.5 or yeah, it's 1.5.
There we go. Let's get after it. 523, 524. Maryland and Nebraska, 1,400 tickets, Jeff, have been tracked offshore. 79%, Jeff, are going to play Nebraska ball tonight, backing the home team here, Cornhuskers. Opened up at 2.5, Jeff, but here we go again. You know, sometimes, look, it's 50-50. Jeff will tell you, I'll tell you there. If you're going to chase steam and you just see a line move based on movement there, you're going to get run over just like a dog does by a car. Eventually, it's going to take place. Jeff, believe in the line movement here because I know we like the way Nebraska plays basketball. And Nebraska at home is a very good team, but Maryland a little bit under the radar heading on the road, getting a lot of respect here with this line sitting at 1.5. What do you see out of these two tonight?
You know, Donnie, this is a fascinating game because you have a team in Nebraska that was 3 last night. It's down to 1.5 with 80% of the money on Nebraska.
Yep.
This is a continued thing I've seen with Nebraska. Every game they play, the line looks weird. The difference, though, between this line and those lines, they're a favorite in this game. In those games, they were underdogs against Wisconsin and the other team. I forget who they played, but they were underdogs in both those teams. Now they're laying points in a game they have to have. If you're looking at bracketology, they have to have these last 4 games. If they lose in any of these 4 games, they are out. Okay, it's just how it goes. You can't lose to these lower rung, and yeah, I do consider Maryland a lower rung. They're not making the tournament. They're not, Penn State, those kind of teams. You need to win against those kind of teams. They can't afford to slip up, and this is a testy game because I've discussed before. I'm not a big Tim Miles guy. I don't love the guy. I think he makes mistake after mistake yearly. But this is a game they have to have. If I'm looking at this one, Maryland is a sneaky team, though. They've had a lot of injuries. They've played particularly well, though, throughout those injuries. This is a tough game, a game that I'm not going to be anywhere near from the sole fact of it just looks too shaky to me. Sorry.
Keep it moving down, Jeff. We'll go to the SEC tonight, 547, 548, and 9 o'clock tip tonight. 50-50 betting action. Now, light betting action as we started off here. Pinnacle and Chris, Jeff, both opened identical at 7.5. Pinnacle did move to 7, with Chris still saying at 7.5. We take a look at some other outlets out there. Bet Online at 7. Sportsbook.ag at 7.5. CG Technologies at 7.5. Over under opened up at Pinnacle, Jeff, at 148. Now down to 145. Chris opened a little bit softer at 145. Now sits at 144. LSU, Alabama, Colin Sexton at home. Is it time for them to make a move? It's about 50-50 tickets in this one, Jeff.
Yeah, another interesting game here. Alabama's been a bet on team at home, Donnie. We've kind of anchored that sentiment all year. All year down at Coleman Coliseum, they've been fantastic against the number 7-4 overall, and they've been good in conference. They've been getting the job done. They're a good offensive team for the most part. They can be a little wonky in the half court at times, but they do a nice job. Sexton's a great player. Dante Hall, John Petty. They have plenty of big boys down there. I think they match up pretty well against LSU because LSU, their normal goal is to get out in transition with Trey Mount Waters. We know if you've listened to me, Alabama's a great transition defense. That's one of the ways they beat Auburn. That's one of the ways they hang in games because they don't let you get out in transition. They normally out rebound every team they play, and they're going to have a big rebounding advantage in this game. The difference for me is on the defensive end. Alabama is an elite defensive team. They've done a fantastic job all year. And you look at LSU, they're, for the most part this year, they've been a real good offensive team. They're shooting the ball 48%, 78 points a game. Last time they played Alabama, they were shut down, 66 points. I hate going down this road just because I was jaded. But one thing about this game we play here, you can't just not bet things because it hurt you the night before. I liked it at 147. I still like it at 144. I think the under's worth a look here. Alabama's good enough defensively where I think they can keep LSU in the 60s. I'm not sure if Alabama will get to 70. I think they can. If I could get a little out of LSU defensively, I think this is a pretty good play. And we can't hate the fact, Donnie, that the Alabama Crimson Tide do have free throw issues at times. You look at home this year, 61%. Just not good enough.
No, I hear you, Jeff. One more game on the dock. We'll try to move it through here. 517, 518, Jeff. Little Hilton Magic. Do you have anything left in the tank? Kansas going to travel to Iowa State. About 1,000 tickets have been tracked offshore, Jeff. 57% of those tickets and 62% of the money, Jeff, coming in on Iowa State. Always a formidable home team in this one. The line opens up on the road, 6.5 as a favorite, Jeff, for Kansas at both Pinnacle and Chris. That line has since moved to 7. So nor the money nor the tickets are moving this wager, quote unquote, in the right direction. Does Kansas come on here with a statement win, or does Iowa State see that magic and try to even pull out an upset victory, Jeff, over the visiting Kansas Jayhawks?
Well, they call it Hilton Magic for a reason, Donnie. And
Yeah.
you look at this conference. I heard a stat recently that I think 40% of the games in this conference have been decided by a possession or less. I mean, how do you really handle handicap? I hate this conference. It's beaten me time after time. I've had your certain runs with it, but it's a tough one. If I'm getting 7 points, gun to my head, I'd take Iowa State. I like to play Lindell Wing the way Wigginton played over the weekend against Oklahoma. They're still without Nick Weiler-Babb, and they're without a guy that's a good player. And they're as far as team wise, they don't have a ton of bodies. They only go about 7 deep without Weiler-Babb. They're going to have another good effort here, but right now Kansas doesn't do a ton for me. Gun to my head, I would take a shot with Iowa State. Big man, you're overthinking Nebraska. They get the job done tonight. Okay, I might be, but I that's not a particular spot that I'm looking to be interested in. I don't think Nebraska's that good. Go ahead, bet them. I don't knock you for it. It just doesn't have any value to me. There you got to remember, man, this business is not about a team peeling back a point and a half when 80% of the money's coming in on them. I know it's worked twice in a row now with Nebraska, but that was them as an underdog. Now they're laying points. They got to win the game. I don't know about betting on it. Basketball point spreads are a joke. Okay, well, not to me. I've killed them all year. Normally when people say that, that means they can't cap it. But maybe you're right. Maybe you just don't like it. I don't know. But I don't agree with that. Donnie, I don't know if you do either. It's basketball season.
No. Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to throw some loops for you out there, Jeff. We keep it local tonight. St. Bonaventure, LaSalle. You're looking at that line open 2.5. Now sits at -1 at this point, and nobody's betting LaSalle. But again, you have to vet these games. If it was so easy, Jeff, for me and you could sit back and just look at lines and be like, that line's off, that line's on. We'd all be millionaires sitting back here. You just have to pick the right one and find out what is your reasoning for why the line is off. It's not that hard.
Right. And real quick, we got 2 minutes to go here. Quickly, teams that need to win tonight. Not saying they will, just pointing them out because I know people will forget about this stuff. St. Bonaventure, need a win. Gotta win. Can't lose to LaSalle. You want to make the tournament. I don't think they're getting in. They need to do a lot to get in, but they do have Rhode Island on the
Mm.
on the card over the weekend, Donnie. This is a
Yeah,
tough
that's
spot
big.
for St. Bonnie.
Yep.
Pookie Powell and BJ Johnson are good players. Tough spot here. They need a win here. They can't afford to lose. This is a game you got to get the job done in. We mentioned Nebraska. They obviously needed to keep going. There are some good spots tonight. But just remember, don't just jump into a game. Make sure teams need games. They're going to play a little bit different. And some teams just kind of out of it and they've given up. Real quick, we will wrap it up here. Champions League today. We did some videos for them yesterday on SBR. Check them out. You got Tottenham, Juventus today, and Man City and Basel. Donnie, where is Basel? You know where Basel is?
Basel, I do not know where Basel's at. No.
Basel is in Switzerland.
I would have
If you
gone
ever
Germany,
need to
something
know.
like that. Yes.
You're not too far away. Um, BMOC, the best bet in hoops is the Sixers in the first quarter. Good point,
Mm.
Sammy Camachione. That's actually something that my friend Blackjack Fletcher told me about. He's been betting that. It's been a good it's been a good bet all year. Um, Other than that, Donnie, we wrap it up today. Thanks to everyone for dealing with some of the tech issues. Again, we're doing a live show. Sometimes it's hard to glitchy sometimes. Donnie, thanks for the show. We'll be back tomorrow with the roundtable. We'll be on with Drew Martin and Ian Cameron, and I'd imagine plenty of basketball talk, which will be fun. Donnie, anything else from you today?
No, I think we're just going to settle into basketball. Got a good card tonight. We'll have some fun with it, see what happens, and just that normal Tuesday. Let's make some money out there, right, big man? That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to bounce back for sure and get the job done here. I'll be on later with Drew Martin. I believe we got the Bet Buffet. We got Europa League coverage with me and Alex need for tips a little bit later. A lot to do today, Donnie. Appreciate, I believe, Ariel behind the camera. Thanks for the work today. Other than that, we'll be back tomorrow with the Roundtable. Have a great day. Bye-bye.